It's curious to observe how, in the wake of Star Wars' success, the global film industry began producing dynamic space-themed action movies. In fact, quite a few were made. It's just that not all of them have remained in the audience's memory to this day. The creators of Alien, working with a relatively small budget, decided to take a different path. The fact that the plot was based on an old horror story no longer interests anyone these days. The screenwriters drew a lucky ticket, and their experiment grew into a popular franchise with a fairly developed universe. Now let's try to trace the chronology of the world. The world itself. Because as interest in the Xenomorphs grew, a new version of human history appeared in their universe. We'll skip over stories like Alien vs. Predator as they are not officially recognized as canon, so you won't find those events in our chronology. Alright, judging by the suits and statues, the engineers were bipedal humanoids, hands with fingers, a head with sensory organs, very similar to Earth creatures, very human-like, but 3 meters tall giants. Timothy Hoenicker on the engineers from Alien's Fireteam Elite. Elizabeth Shaw was the one who called the alien beings engineers. She implied that these humanoids essentially created the human race through genetic engineering. They are also referred to as Ossians, Malakak. But ultimately, humans named them Homo Genitor, creator of man. Several billion years ago, a highly advanced alien race ruled the galaxy. For their genetic and terraforming experiments, they sought out and used lifeless celestial bodies. One of those bodies became our Earth. It's not definitively known whether the engineers interfered with the planet's geological history. What is certain is that they were directly responsible for the origin of life. Arriving on Earth, the engineers performed a ritual sacrifice. One of them drank a cup of mutagen, which destroyed his body. His remains sank into the water, giving birth to life and evolution. The ancient progenitor race didn't just seed planets with their DNA, they closely watched over their creations and tried to influence their development. That's why, in 34 BCE, the engineers created Jesus and implanted him on Earth. Alas, the way humans treated their messenger didn't sit well with the demigods. At the end of the 1st century CE, several engineers set out on a mission to use the pathogen to wipe out the human race. This very pathogen is the true main character of the universe, as all events revolve around it in some way. The group of engineers failed in their mission, or rather they failed to handle the pathogen and almost all perished. 4 survivors went into stasis, but in the end only 1 lived to see the present day. In 1990, Peter Weyland was born in India. As a young man, he received an excellent education and proved himself to be a brilliant scientist. His discoveries in robotics and genetic engineering pushed science far forward. At the age of 22, in 2012, Peter founded Weyland Industries. In 2015 and 2016, Peter Weyland worked on mitigating global warming, which he ultimately succeeded in doing. Thanks to his achievements, he was knighted in 2016 and in 2017 received the Nobel Prize for his outstanding contribution to atmospheric research. At the same time, Weyland Industries tackled medical problems and also created the world's first android. This android, David, became a subject of controversy. But in 2024, Peter and his corporation won a court case regarding the patent. By 2026, Weyland acquired an abandoned NASA project and several other enterprises. His mind turned to the stars, and the Kepler project revealed 4,326 biocompatible planets. By 2034, humanity discovered a way to travel faster than light. In 2065, a memorial library was built in Peter Weyland's honor in Washington, D.C. However, by old age, the health of the renowned scientist and magnate began to decline, and he started considering ways to extend his life. In 2089, archaeologists Elizabeth Shaw and Charles Holloway discovered a 35,000-year-old star map. It was located in a cave in the Scottish Highlands. Dr. Shaw somehow decided the map was an invitation from the engineers. Then again, how many critical mistakes do scientists make in pursuit of knowledge? Elizabeth contacted Peter Weyland, believing he might be interested in sponsoring an expedition to the mysterious moon LV-223. Long obsessed with the quest for immortality, Peter Weyland agreed to the creation of the research vessel Prometheus. Leaving his affairs in a dire state, Weyland secretly joined the expedition. They reached LV-223 in 2093 and 94, hoping the black liquid found on the alien ship would solve the problem of immortality. Weyland ordered the android to bring it aboard Prometheus. This stowaway act triggered a chain of tragic events that nearly destroyed humanity. However, most crew members never lived to realize their mistake. Infected by the pathogen, they died one by one. David and Peter Weyland encountered a not-so-happily awakened engineer. Those who had avoided contact with the mutagen were forced to sacrifice themselves so the engineer wouldn't complete his mission, to deliver the mutagen to Earth. The only survivors were Elizabeth, Shaw, and David. Apparently, losing one's head is also a temporary inconvenience for an android. The two of them set off for the home planet of the Engineers. There, they hoped to find answers as to why the demigods wanted to destroy humanity. In 2103, the ship Covenant sets off for the stars carrying a cargo of frozen embryos and colonists in stasis. Its destination, the habitable planet Aurigae 6. Everything would have gone smoothly, but the ship suffers an accident en route, forcing part of the crew to be awakened, and the captain dies. Being close to their original destination, the awakened humans are reluctant to return to stasis. This plays a fatal role in their fate. They intercept a transmission and discover another planet. As luck would have it, it's even more suitable for life than their original target. Curiosity killed a cat, but people tend to forget that. They send a team to investigate the mysterious planet. Well, another encounter with Xenomorphs awaits them, but this time it's something new. The world they landed on turns out to be a planet of the Engineers. However, the humans are not destined to meet their creators. Instead, they fall into the hands of the deranged android David. When it's revealed that he is responsible for the death of Elizabeth Shaw and the extinction of the Engineers, the Covenant mission is already doomed. The mutagen, once meant to wipe out humanity, has firmly taken root in the planet's biosphere. As a result of David's experiments, new aggressive forms of xenomorphs are born, and they're even harder to fight. The expedition's android, Walter, confronts David in battle. Sadly, he loses, and the cunning David manages to take his place aboard the ship. He smuggles a pair of alien embryos onto the Covenant and sends a false message back to Earth. In his version, most of the crew died in the accident, and the ship continues its journey to Aurigae 6. This story unfolds over about a year and ends in 2104. The cargo ship Nostromo departed Earth in 2120. 2 years later, on its return from Thetis, the ship deviates from its course. The crew, as always, receives a strange distress signal from an unexplored planetoid. Human curiosity is indestructible. People, ignoring caution, head out to explore a crashed alien ship. And of course, they bring back someone infected with a xenomorph. A bit of intrigue is added by the fact that one crew member seems to know exactly what they've brought back. Not only that, he's tasked with delivering it to Earth for research. As usual, the battle with the xenomorph costs the lives of the entire crew. Only Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley survives, and the ship's cat, Jones. All would be well, but it seems the Nostromo crew still managed to bring the xenomorph to Earth. In 2124, the Sevastopol Space Station is built in the Zeta Reticuli sector. The station's own history isn't particularly interesting, just the usual rise and fall. Inefficient management and lost investments, the standard American reason for decommissioning the station. However, in 2137, another tragedy unfolds aboard. The Anisadora arrives. Aboard the rescue ship is the Nostromo's flight recorder, and a woman infected with a xenomorph. Around the same time, the station's purchased by the Weyland Yutani Corporation, interested in delivering the alien to Earth. Another android is assigned the directive to preserve the alien creature at any cost. The courier ship Torrens is dispatched to Sevastopol, supposedly to retrieve the Nostromo's flight recorder. In reality, Weyland-Yutani's true goal is once again to get their hands on the Xenomorph. However, this time their plan is again foiled, disrupted by Ellen Ripley's courageous daughter, Amanda. Somehow, Weyland-Yutani ends up controlling many aspects of human life and over the decades practically turns into a slaver. A group of young people, forced to extend their contracts, set out to a derelict space vessel. There, they hope to steal cryostasis pods to escape to a remote system. Unfortunately, the ship turns out to be a station, and inside it, xenomorphs are once again lurking. What follows is another bloody drama. Unsurprising, given that these creatures, born of the black oily substance, were designed to annihilate humanity. An intriguing moment in this story is when a seriously injured crew member, a woman named Kay, voluntarily injects herself with the substance. As a result, she gives birth to a terrifying hybrid of human and xenomorph, which also has the face of an engineer. Sadly, the humanoid nature of the creature does not lessen its aggression. Kay is killed by its hand, and the hybrid is only barely ejected into space. In 2179, Ellen Ripley is found after spending 57 years in hypersleep. That same record is shared by the cat Jones, whom she saved from Nostromo. Ripley's mental state is unstable. She is tormented by nightmares. At Weyland-Yutani, officials deny any involvement in the deaths of the crew or the existence of xenomorphs. Nevertheless, she is brought into the investigation on Acheron, where colonists have once again discovered alien eggs. The story of Ellen Ripley's confrontation with the alien queen doesn't hold much originality. Deaths, parasite infections, the most important part is that the heroine is forced to take her own life. The last surviving crew member of Nostromo, to prevent the birth of a new queen from her chest, jumps into molten lead. If only that were the end. Again and again, humans repeat the same mistakes, and Weyland-Yutani continues trying to bring xenomorphs to Earth. In 2295, on the ship Sphacteria, the crew can't ignore a false distress signal, but the true horror peaks not there. In 2379, Ellen Ripley is resurrected through cloning, but the clone is not made without reason. Curious scientists have once again ruined everything. The story concludes in 2381, the 8th Ripley clone. The only successful human-xenomorph hybrid is forced to fight for the future of humanity. Ripley 8 retains a stable human psyche and upholds humanist values. This allows her to defeat the newborn, a monstrous creature born of the cloned alien queen. Indeed, in the very end, after acquiring some of Ripley's DNA, the queen becomes capable of giving live birth instead of laying parasitic eggs. Tragically, her own offspring immediately kills her, and recognizes Ripley 8 as its mother. Sadly, the newborn is also hostile toward all other humans. Ripley 8 is forced to destroy it. The fate of Ripley 8 is left with an open ending. She realizes that she is no longer truly human. Alien is undoubtedly an interesting franchise for fans of horror films mixed with science fiction. By and large, the works in this series are not particularly known for original plots. In any case, it's always an accidental discovery of a pathogen, eggs, or transitional xenomorph stages. There is always a traitor on the team who serves an unscrupulous corporation. There is always a synthetic human whose loyalty to humans is highly questionable. And there is always a hero who, at the cost of their own life, is ready to save all of humanity, to keep the infection from reaching Earth, and so on. Hundreds of infected colonies, the genocide of the Engineers, all of this pales in comparison to saving Earth, the cradle of humanity. Perhaps our chronology contains many repetitions, and maybe something is missing. Well, maybe you'll add your own fresh perspective to this strange and brutal world of aliens. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching, see you soon, bye.